Good morning.
Good morning.
What was funny about that?
You said that funny.
Okay.
So I have a funny story.
Okay.
I went and visited my sister down in LA
Yes, I remember.
a couple weeks ago, and I had this really interesting experience. I would try to have conversation with her, and I would ask her lots of questions. Oh, how do you do this? And what kind of food do you like to eat? And where do you hang out? And she would answer my question, but I never got a question back. She doesn't know what I do. She doesn't know about mastering alchemy. She has no clue what my life is about. She never asked the question back, and I did a little experiment, and I would purposely say really interesting things, expecting her to say, "Oh, what was that like?" And she never did.
And you were there for 10 days?
7 days.
Ooh.
And you and I have had that same experience in our life together in other situations where we're having dinner with a couple and we're engaging them, and they're answering our questions, and they're just like talking about themselves. And at the end of the conversation, they say, "Wow, that was really a great conversation.
This is the best dinner I've ever had."
And you and I walk away going, "What? They never even asked who we are."
Every time we had lunch with these people that we had a reason to have lunch with them,
Yeah.
but we didn't know. They never even asked our names.
No.
And yet they walked away going, "Oh, wow, you are the coolest people. You are so much fun. Why aren't there more of you in the world?"
Right.
Never asked us one question.
So what is that? What's the dynamic? Why are we engaging with people and interested in asking questions, but it doesn't come back?
Well, the question is, people like to talk about themselves. You know, they may not think they like to talk about themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do in my life, and this is how I deal with my garden, and this is what I do. And I think it's just the way we've learned to communicate, at least in the United States, that you don't really ask people. And it's a fascinating thing, because I was, after this conversation, coming back from your sister, it was fascinating. I was engaging with various people, and I would ask them a question and then see what happens. And what I did find out, or I would talk to them in a way where they would then say, "Oh, I fell off a cliff once too," or "Oh, I did this once too." And I was paying attention to what's the dynamic of a conversation. And so really people first aren't necessarily connected. It's not like, "Oh, hello, how are you? Who are you? I want to get to know you." It's really a passing conversation. So it's like people talk to you out here. It's like, "Oh yeah, I had one of those one time." And it's, we talk about in concentric circles.
Mm-hmm.
You get to that point where you're really focused, present, observing, and engaged, and creative. And then there's these places where it's, "Oh, I'm having a really good day, life's good," but you're out here a little further in your space. I think people generally operate out there in those concentric circles. And it's a dynamic that goes on that's just kind of passing one another without really engaging in who you are. And maybe it's about, I don't want to talk about anything that's more close to me than.
More personal.
More personal than. And so this is a good conversation, because as people go through mastering alchemy, and you get more and more disconnected from the who I'm not, and you begin to recognize this, a lot of life isn't even really interesting, and I'm losing my thoughts of what I'm supposed to do. Consistently, all through the years, people will get to a point where they've lost their focus, they're not hungry, their interests aren't interesting anymore, their job's not interesting, their relationship is challenging, and you kind of say, "Well, how's that working for you?" And inevitably people say, "Yeah, it's actually really pretty good."
It's like, even though my sister didn't engage me, I didn't take it personal.
Well, that's a big piece of it, I think.
I just watched it as this really amusing theater.
Yeah, yeah. And you said when you left, she said, this was the best, I had a great time, this was really wonderful.
She wants me to stay 2 weeks.
Please come out 2 weeks next time. Good luck with that.
I don't think so.
Yeah. So really, what are we talking about? We're talking about as a person begins to get more conscious, more in their space, more managing their space, more observing without babbling, a tremendous amount falls away. But yet we still want to have engagement. So one of the things, and I run into this all the time, it's trying to play where I play and then talk to people about that. That's just like that's not going to happen. Unless they're spiritual people, then they're really excited about talking about that. But even in that space, a lot of times it's like, well, okay, I like talking about all this, but nothing comes back.
Yeah.
It's like, what nourishes me, or what nourishes you, or what nourishes you as a person? I think there's a place where the question is, or the reality is, that's going to continue to happen. And it's probably going to get worse.
So what do you do?
So what do you do? How do you entertain yourselves? And what I've found is, who am I? What am I about? What's interesting to me? How do I entertain myself and enjoy myself with myself? And when I'm with other people, how do I get to share that with other people? And usually the answer is other people that are like me in that space.
Well, and other people who share that one commonality. Like you bicycle with a bunch of guys, and that's what you talk about, bicycling.
Pretty much. And we talk about just noise, politics or whatever it may be, or hiking or biking certain places. But it's within a frame of reference that it's acceptable. And some of it's interesting, some of it's not interesting, some of it's engaging, some of it's not. But what is interesting to you? And then find people that are interested in that also.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important place to play, because there are things that you're interested in. And one of the things I watch with a lot of people is I say, what are you interested in? And they say, I don't know.
Right.
I kind of lost it all. But really there are things you're interested in. And a lot of times that thing you're interested in is something you wanted to do way back when you were a kid. You had a lot of passion about it, and then you lost it. Painting or clay making or pottery or drawing or whatever it may be, cooking.
And I think it's important to identify those 1, 2, 3 things, and actively look for others who do that.
Yeah.
Because I think people on this path have a tendency to get lonely.
I think it's people generally are lonely. I went and had my teeth cleaned this morning, and talking to the person cleaning, we've gotten to be very friendly in that context all the time. We talk, it's kind of like, okay, catch up for 4 months. And she was saying, well, we don't really have friends. We have this one couple that we see occasionally, but I don't really have anything to talk to people about. Same story, and very 3D, but same story. And when I watch people, I think the average person is lonely, and very disconnected, and doesn't know how to be connected. And to a great extent, it is this spiritual space that we play in. And the challenge that most of us have in the spiritual space is we don't live next to somebody. We're not in a community. We are disconnected by 200 miles away from somebody that's in my 8th grade group or whatever it may be.
Well, what's wonderful, the 8th grade groups, is that some of these people who got into their Mastering Alchemy 8th grade groups in level 2, now they've graduated, they've gone through the whole program, which is another 4 years later, and they're still meeting.
Yeah.
They're not in any program,
They've become friends.
Yeah.
They've got lots of commonality, and they have common language to talk about. And we've got a conference coming up, and people are excited about the conference because they're coming from different parts of the world. And it's really, I want to see the one little group. This is a particular piece of work, and we couple people, 4 or 5 people together to do the piece of work. They're coming more to connect than they are to coming to the conference.
Yeah.
So, but I think this issue of connection is going to become more challenging than it is less challenging. But I think it's going to require an intentional attention.
Yeah.
It's really about, it's going to just completely continue to evade you unless you take an action to find a place for that. And I want to talk about something else, this whole level of people are having anxiety and they're having disconnect and things. Not today, we'll do that next week. But it's very related, these levels of anxiety that people are having. And
I suspect that if a person doesn't put their attention on engaging and finding people that they can communicate with, that aloneness just gets more and more and more, and then it gets unhealthy and isolating.
Yeah. This is slightly disconnected from this, but there's a part of my memory system that doesn't work well. And it's a place where I get told something and I say, okay, and it doesn't anchor. And then all of a sudden it comes to the point of doing that, and you'll say, well, we're going to do such and such, and it's like, I don't remember that. And it's not Alzheimer's. It's a disconnect in my memory system, and I look at that all the way back. And so one of the things that I'm finding I'm doing is I'm paying attention and creating a structure that it's almost like saying somebody's name when you meet them, and then you kind of say it once or twice in your head to anchor it. I think that process is really similar to where people engaging with people not only think about, I want to meet people in cooking, but you engage with it, you pay attention to it, you meet them, you proactive, and you intentionally say, I'm being proactive to yourself in doing it. There's something that, until that intention is anchored, grounded, we seem to move past it. And I think that's something that everybody's wanting to pay attention to. And I'll talk a little bit in this next week when we talk about anxiety and some of the things that are going on. Because we're moving into a period of time where it's very comfortable in a way right now. It's not pushing on you, but the winter's coming. It's kind of that moment where it's really nice, but you probably want to do some maintenance.
Yeah, prepare the ground, pull the weeds, all the dead flowers.
Yeah, but that part of your own personality really needs to be addressed.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So maybe I can send you down with your sister and you can work on it again.
Thank you.
No.
No.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about anxiety next week a little bit, see where we can go.